It's time for PetSylvania with Dr. Bob Esplin. Dr. Bob guides you through the latest veterinary techniques and procedures to keep your pets in the best of health. PetSylvania is brought to you by Elanco, maker of Trifexis and Comfortis. With your ears up and tails wagging, here is Dr. Bob.
Hello, pet lovers. Welcome to another edition of PetSylvania. I'm happy to be here. This is Dr. Bob, and I am real excited to be back on the air. We have some terrific sponsors that I want to highlight with you. Elanco, the makers of Trifexis, which is a once-a-month heartworm, internal parasite, flea control pill. If you don't have a tick worry, because you've not seen ticks, you don't have them in your neighborhood, you don't go to high tick areas, and we're going to talk about ticks a little bit later today, then I would highly recommend that Trifexis become your number one product. If you do have some tick issues, one way to attack that is with a collar called a Scalibor collar. Another way, of course, is the topical Frontline Plus. But Elanco, makers of this game changer in Trifexis, if your dogs tolerate it, and the majority of the dogs do, it is a great product, and it's certainly convenient. Hills, the makers of scientifically researched and formulated premium dog and cat food, Science Diet, and the prescription diet line of foods that are disease specific. This company is on the leading edge of nutrition research. They have products within their consumer line, the Science Diet line, that fits every niche. So if you're a client that wants to avoid feeding grains, frankly, there's no reason to that, but if that's your desire, there's a product called Ideal Balance. They make an all-natural food. They make high-quality nutrition in a variety of flavors for dogs and cats, both canned food and dry food. I think it's important that when you buy your dog food or your pet food, you buy it from a nutrition company, somebody that's actually applying science to formulation of their diet, and not somebody that's just using published formulas and is doing no research in that regard. Esplin Medical, the makers of the most unique surgical scrubs on the market today. They are 55% bamboo, 25% cotton, and 20% poly. Most other scrubs that are out there are made with 65% poly and 35% cotton. Those high percentage poly outfits are very coarse. They can be very uncomfortable to wear. They can be hot, and because they don't breathe like the natural fiber Esplin Medical scrubs. There are 4 colors: navy blue, seal blue, Caribbean blue, and jade green. They come in three top types: a unisex, a 4-pocket, and a contrasting top, and then a unisex bottom, and a jacket that is designed along the lines of Gray's Anatomy jackets. So it's very, very comfortable. One of my employees tonight just says, "I love these scrubs. They are so comfortable." Available locally at the Toledo Family Pharmacy. They carry both navy and Caribbean blue. Sylvania Vet has all 4 colors that we're selling. They're in stock right now, and they are on display. And then you can buy them online at www.esplinmedical.com. And then, of course, Sylvania Vet, my office. This is my first week back. I'm pretty excited. I've been getting bored, and after my triple bypass surgery 8 weeks ago, I am raring to go. And the staff is being cautious. They're not letting me do very much right now, so we're going to have to talk about that. But I want to brag about Sylvania Vet, but you know what I really want to brag about is my staff. We've been short-staffed on the veterinary side since I went out and another doctor left, and the doctors that remained have just really stepped up and done a wonderful job, and kept things floating and actually thriving, and I cannot be happier. We have modified the way we provide our 24/7, 365 care, and that is we're only going to see after-hours appointments for our existing clients. So if you don't want to have to go elsewhere, then you need to become a Sylvania Vet client in order to have a full-time doctor. And don't you really want a full-time doctor? One of the advantages of 24/7, 365 care is the fact that we can do early admits, or we can do late releases out of boarding, daycare, or any of our important services. We don't have to confine ourselves to our regular hours because there's always someone there. I'm always asking you to send questions, and it's great. This week we had 3, and that's a record. And so let's keep working on that. The first one comes from Jason, and he says, to read his email post, it says, my new girlfriend has a Saint Bernard dog that drools like there is no tomorrow. There is slobber everywhere, especially when he shakes his head. Is there any solution to Teddy's waterfall that can save our new relationship? There's no medication, Jason, and there's not a lot short of a surgery, and we'll talk about that real quickly here. What happens is that St. Bernards produce a lot of saliva. There's no question about it. But there are St. Bernards that have a drier mouth and that don't spew strings of saliva all over you and all over the house. But one of the reason that happens is that they have tighter lips. A lot of St. Bernards have very floppy, drooly lips, and that floppy lips, there's a reservoir that collects saliva, and it may very well, in that collected saliva, may very well act as an irritant to produce additional saliva, and so there's almost an unlimited amount. And so what has to be done for this problem is that to first off eliminate that there's a mass, a growth in the mouth. You need to make sure that it's got a healthy dental issues, that there isn't a lot of periodontal disease or plaque and tartar. But once you've eliminated medical reasons why there might be excessive saliva, then there's a surgery that you can do to kind of tighten up the lips and close the mouth down so that the saliva stays in the mouth and they can swallow it. And it works. I've done this a few times, and it works pretty well. So it is something to think about. But that may not fit into a new relationship, and your new girlfriend may say something to the effects, well, if you want to do it, then get your checkbook out. So let's develop that relationship a little bit more before you start suggesting problems that you don't like about her dog. That time sometimes can be a deal breaker. Leah wrote me a question and says, we love listening to your show. Well, yeah, who doesn't like compliments? So thank you, Leah. I hope you can help our Basset Hounds. Fred and Ethel are terrific friends and companions, but they stink. No matter how often we bathe them, they have odor about them. Please help me with this solution. There's a lot of reasons why your dogs may have a stinky smell, and certainly your solution with bathing, if it's a chronic skin infection, if it's excessive body oils that are being produced as a result of what's known as seborrhea oleosa, those things, those bathing will help that, but it sometimes doesn't last very long. Sometimes that Basset Hound with chronic infection needs to be on long-term medication, and it's not necessarily just antibiotics. The infection can be caused by yeast or fungus, more commonly yeast with the body odor, and so that needs to be looked at and diagnosed. Another issue for a lot of Basset Hounds, because of the giant ears that they have, is that there can be a chronic ear infection, and then that can smell badly, and you can need to deal with that on a regular basis, keeping the ears clean. So, and that includes the inside of the flaps. Another issue can be really bad dental disease and an infection in the mouth that smells bad, and they too can have a little bit of droopy lip issues. And instead of throwing a lot of saliva, sometimes the lower lip has some folds in it, and those folds are chronically moist, and because they're buried below the upper lips, and they're a little bit more vigorous with their saliva production, that can become infected, and it can really be stinky, and that leads to a condition called, a big fancy name, doctors love fancy names, called cheilitis, and that just means it's an inflammation and an infection of the lip. Grossed Out in Maumee wrote me and said, my parents have a Shih Tzu that they think is terrific, and I can't stomach. because he has the disgusting habit of eating his own poop. He squats, unloads, and chomps. They are constantly feeding him table scraps because he won't eat dog food. I dread visiting my parents because of this. Can you offer any help to curb this behavior? It is a disgusting behavior, grossed out. There's no question about it. It grosses me out as well. And so there are a variety of solutions. Modifying the diet and getting on a better diet is probably important from a lot of ways, because feeding nothing but table food or significant amounts of table food in the exchange for dog food that they don't like can be a real problem from a weight control standpoint and an imbalance standpoint. There are products available on the market that you can use. You can try putting on the food meat tenderizer, fresh squeezed pineapple juice. There's a product called Forbid, and there's another product called Copperman. And then you can kind of set the dog up to have an adverse reaction by going out, walking the dog out on a leash so it can't turn right around and eat, walking it away, somebody else comes out, puts Tabasco or cayenne pepper on it. Then the dog encounters that and has a very adverse reaction. You got to prevent the dog from doing it, that's for sure. It's time to take a break, and we'll be back. I said that we were going to talk a little bit about ticks, and I think the main reason that we want to talk about it is we're seeing, they're telling me, because I haven't been in the office in 8 weeks, but they're telling me now that the weather is broken. We're seeing more ticks this year than we have in the last couple. So ticks can be an issue, and where not every neighborhood has ticks. If you have a mowed lawn, you walk on the sidewalk, you walk in the street, you live in the city, you live in the suburbs without a lot of open lots, you're probably not going to have much of a tick issue. But if you go to the parks, all the metro parks have significant tick issues. Wildwood, Secor, Swan Creek, Oak Openings, all of those have significant tick issues. There's a tick corridor from about Swan Creek Metro Park out through Swanton, which incorporates, of course, Oak Openings. There's a lot of ticks there. If you go for a walk in those places, you probably best look your dog over when you come back. Look yourself over for that matter as well. And then this is where we want to use some kind of tick control. Scalibor collar, which repels ticks, kills ticks, repels mosquitoes, and helps kill fleas, is a good choice. Frontline Plus is a good choice. There are other products out there that have variations of permethrins. I'm not a big fan of permethrins. They have the potential for being toxic to both the pets that come in contact with them and with the humans that might be handling the pets. So those permethrin-containing products are not high on my list. Transmission of disease, we know about Lyme disease. We do see some degree of Lyme disease in Northwest Ohio, but other diseases that are transmitted by ticks, Ehrlichia, Anaplasma, Rocky Mountain spotted fever. I'm unsure of the speed with which those are transmitted, but I can tell you this for sure, that a tick has to be on and attached to a dog or a human for 48 hours before Lyme disease can be transmitted. Hence the look over after your walk and removing the ticks before they get well established and start to engorge blood is a pretty good idea. As I left the office today, we were sending home a dog that came in Sunday evening with a gastric torsion, and a gastric torsion is a twist of the stomach where it rotates clockwise. And it obstructs the flow of fluids and ingesta out of the stomach. So it frequently occurs following a big meal, but doesn't always happen. Dr. Natalie was the doctor on call, and she came in, and Lisa and the other techs that were there had this guy all ready to go, and then Dr. Tate came in, Dr. Jen came in to help with the surgery, and in about an hour and a half they had gotten this dog's problem squared away. They had gotten the stomach tacked so that it won't twist again, and they were sending it home tonight at 7:00. So I'm pretty pleased with the quality of the work, and certainly the client was was thrilled to have Dicka come home, and and I think the emphasis is that that couldn't have happened without them being a client and without us offering 24-hour care around the clock with the doctor on call. Kathy was extraordinarily pleased with the with what we accomplished and how we saved her dog's life. This is a problem that when it occurs, it must be seen immediately. Allergy testing, we're constantly looking at things that we do, and we're looking at our allergy testing protocol right now, and we're going to change companies because we think we're going to get a better mix of how we're testing and the quality control on the allergens. But we do intradermal skin testing, where a lot of other practices do blood tests, and the blood tests are not well regarded by the specialists, and the blood tests for food are considered worthless. So I would suggest that if allergy testing has been recommended and they want to send you to see a specialist, we can do the allergy testing at Sylvania Vet. So I would strongly consider doing that. I would not spend the money to have blood testing done for foods. I would just decline that. It is an option. And then the only reason to blood test or to intradermal skin test is the idea that you're going to hyposensitize the dog. You're going to try to remove, or the cat for that matter, because we do this in cats. You're going to reduce the sensitivity that the animal has to the allergens that we've discovered. And the most common ones are the ones that affect people: house dust, ragweed, grasses and trees, and weed pollens. Those are the things that we see in dogs, and those are the things that the human allergist is finding in people. Our allergy tests are geared towards Northwest Ohio specifically. We actually consulted with veterinary dermatologists, human allergists, until we selected the 40 different allergens that we test for. There's a condition that occurs rarely in cats, and it's really good that it does because it's truly a devastating disease, and it's called triad disease. And triad would imply that there are three components of this disease. It's almost always older cats. When they develop triad disease, their appetite usually decreases, means they lose weight. They vomit. They may have diarrhea, and they stop. They don't feel well, so they stop grooming, and so they can look pretty rough, particularly if it's been going on for a little while. The three components of triad disease are what's known as inflammatory bowel disease. That's where diarrhea and vomiting comes. We have inflammation of the intestine or of the stomach. It's not cancer. It's basically like an allergy. Inflames the bowel and prevents proper digestion. There's also a pancreatic component. There's chronic pancreatitis. There's an inadequate amount of digestive enzymes being produced, and there's an inflammation of the pancreas, which is affecting its ability to properly function. And then there's liver disease, and the most common component of liver disease is an infection called cholangiohepatitis. When you put those three things together, you've got a really sick animal, and it's really essential that you get your diagnosis of this. And so it involves a fairly significant workup. You need to do blood work to evaluate the pancreas, and there's some things that you can do to evaluate the intestine through the blood work. A test called a folate and a B12, which we run as well as a pancreatic test. We need liver biopsies. We usually do that with the ultrasound and a needle and mild sedation. And then sometimes we have to do an endoscope of the stomach in order to get biopsy samples. So it's really critical that if your pet has this triad disease, that it get fully diagnosed so that it can be a treatment modality can be put together, and we can successfully treat that. So let's take a break, and we'll come back and we'll wrap it up. I'd like to introduce you to a new downtown Sylvania business called the House of Smoochie. Debbie Kahn has opened her business, and she makes designer dog and cat beds, and they are truly works of art. I'm not sure I'd want my dog sleeping in one, but I wouldn't mind putting it on display because these are totally beautiful. She also carries a variety of unique pet toys, collars, and jackets, and is looking to add additional unique items to her pet boutique. Her store, the House of Smoochie, is right at the corner of Main Street in Sylvania and Maplewood, and it's a great location, and downtown Sylvania is a great place. I was in downtown Sylvania on Saturday, and it was hopping. There was hardly a parking space. It was great to see Sylvania thriving like that. Debbie Kahn is a great supporter of pet rescues in the area. We have about a week left for a sale that she's calling 2020, so see clearly what this means. And that is that if you come in and buy a Smoochie bed for your pet, your dog or your cat, she will give you a $20 discount. Now, that's a good deal in itself, but at the same time, she will donate $20 to Paws and Whiskers, the cat shelter. We are closely involved with the Paws and Whiskers cat shelter. We're their veterinarian. They are the only no-kill cat-only shelter in the area. I think that's really important to know that that's available to you as a great place to adopt an animal, and potentially, if you find a stray, a place to take a stray where it's going to have a chance to find a forever home. I saw a little stray kitty this week when I was in, and this kitty was put in a broken taillight of a car. If you can believe it, nobody quite knows how it got there, and we think the mom did it because the whole litter was there. Mom was circling around, but how she picked this spot out, how she fit these 1.5 pound kittens into a broken taillight, I have no idea. We found a good home for this one, and the others, including the mom, are also going to find good homes, so that's good. So check out Smoochie. I think you'll enjoy it, and say hi to Debbie Kahn for me. She's a great person, and a person that's well worth knowing if you're into pets. So I'd like to thank my sponsors. Hills make many of the best diets on the market. Prescription Diet YD to treat cats for hyperthyroidism. Metabolic Diet, a game changer when it comes to weight loss, unlike anything else that's on the market. And Ideal Balance, the all-natural food that is 100% balanced. It's the only product on the market like it that you can bet and be sure that it's balanced. A lot of products that are out there are not. Elanco, the maker of Trifexis. I want you to remember that we have the best prices in the area on Trifexis, but you have to be a client in order to be able to buy them from us. There is a $10 rebate if you buy 6 and a $25 rebate if you buy a year's supply. That's 12. Esplin Medical, the makers of bamboo scrubs, bamboo, cotton, polyester. They're like wearing pajamas. www.esplinmedical.com, or stop in Sylvania Vet and examine the scrubs, and then you can buy a set. They are priced very reasonably for a premium product. And Sylvania Vet, I want to alert you to the fact that we have a new doctor starting early next month. His name is John McCarty, so I want to wish him well. We're very excited to have John, a new graduate from Missouri. He's very excited to be a member of the Sylvania Vet team. There's only one greatest pet, and it lives in your home.
You have been listening to PetSylvania with Dr. Bob Esplin on WSYLradio.com. PetSylvania is brought to you by Elanco, maker of Trifexis and Comfortis. Tune in every Saturday at 10 a.m. as Dr. Bob explains the latest in veterinary care and answers your questions. You can email your pet questions to requests@WSYLradio.com, and Dr. Bob will answer them on a future show.